American lives. There aren't any American soldiers fighting there. So when you hear complaints about an endless war, maybe remember this, it may be a long war, but there are no Americans fighting in it. That's a pretty good deal when you think about it, or at least it ought to be. The fact, I think, is lost on too many Republicans now trying to oust the speaker.
There are Republicans who specifically had a problem with Ukraine aid and that number and all of the details of it. But several Republicans in that caucus that had a problem with the legislation pointed to the border not being a part of it or leading the way. Here's Congressman Chip Roy again.
It's bad for our party to go out and tell the American people you're going to secure the border of the United States when you're watching 24,000 Chinese nationals coming here, 85% of whom are adults, when you're watching Lincoln Riley get killed by somebody who was paroled by the policies of this administration, and you tell the American people you're going to secure the border, and then you get up and say, oh, I can't.
So what do you think of that, Brett?
Well, you wonder sometimes if these people can count. The House passed a border security bill that, was very popular among House Republicans. They sent it to the Senate, and it went absolutely nowhere because the Senate's controlled by Democrats, and Democrats didn't want it. Then there was a negotiation between the House, Senate, and Republicans and Democrats over a bill to deal with the border. It had many good things in it. It was endorsed by the Border Patrol Union, and it was killed because House members, Republicans, said they weren't going to vote for it, and it was dead on arrival. So it wasn't as if an effort hasn't been made here. It has. They just simply didn't have the votes to pass it. So now comes this, and the hope among Republicans was that they could lever the Democrats' desire for the Ukraine bill and other things in a way of getting a border security bill passed. They didn't have the votes to do that, and so it failed. And now they did these other things, which are important, just as the border is, but separate.
Slim majorities, tough to govern.
Exactly right.
Brett, as always, thank you. Up next, the panel with the latest on the presidential race and the trial of former President Donald Trump. As we go to break, former Associated Press correspondent Terry Anderson has died. Anderson was a globetrotting reporter who became one of America's longest held hostages. He was held for nearly 7 years after being kidnapped in Lebanon in 1985. He detailed his experience in a best-selling memoir entitled Den of Lions. Terry Anderson was 76.
This is everything we have. We need to pray.
Look around you. Your faith, your family, that's what makes you rich in life.
Unsung hero, rated PJ.
Lumify is kind of amazing. Wow. My go-to is Lumify eye drops. Lumify dramatically reduces redness in 1 minute. And look at the difference. My eyes look brighter and whiter for up to 8 hours. Lumify really works. See for yourself.
In my bag like a bunch of groceries, all this cheese and greens just come to me.
Freedom you can't take your eyes off. The new 2024 Jeep Wrangler and Gladiator. Jeep, there's only one.
Start your spring with a great deal during the Jeep Celebration event, where right now, get the 2024 Jeep Wrangler starting at $33,890 MSRP.
We really don't want people to think of feeding food like ours as spoiling their dogs. Good, real food is simple. It looks like food, it smells like food. It's what dogs are supposed to be eating. No living being should ever eat processed food for every single meal of their life.
It's amazing to me how many people write in about their dogs changing for the better. The farmer's dog is just our way to help people take care of them.
We're Row, a healthcare company helping hundreds of thousands of people lose weight. And we're now offering treatment with GLP-1s, the revolutionary weight loss medications everyone is talking about. With Row, get the online coaching and care you need to lose 15 to 20% of your body weight with one weekly shot. Losing 15 to 20% of your body weight is possible with Row. Get started at row.co/lose20.
It's better outside with Ninja. Cookouts are better with Master Grills that char, barbecue, smoke, and air fry. Backyard bashes are better with pizza ovens that give you crispy crust. 700-degree high heat roasting and barbecue smoking. It's better outside with Ninja. Selling your home? Realtor.com's Real Choice Selling lets you choose from multiple agent proposals. Because when agents compete, you win.
Don't all apps do that?
Not really. Trust the #1 app real estate professionals trust. Download the Realtor.com app today.
Hi, I'm Jay Jackson. For almost 20 years, Abacus Life has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors. And in just seconds, you can use the free calculator at abacuspays.com to learn what your policy might be worth.
For many of my clients, selling their life insurance to Abacus was right for them and their estate plan.
Don't sell or lapse your policy without going to abacuspays.com first. There are no fees and no obligations. Get the real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus.
Tonight,
what has Joe Biden done for the Latino community?
I can't name a single thing.
it's a report card for the president on Jesse Waters Primetime.
This is a Shell Energy 100% renewable electricity plan, lighting every soccer match at Shell Energy Stadium. We're moving forward with Houston Dash because we're moving forward with everybody. Shell, powering progress.
This is the one who helps everyone stay safe. An unsung hero in a building full of everyday heroes. It's just how he likes it. The industrial grade products you need. Call, click, or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
We're excited to do business with you, but before we sign, I gotta ask.
Sure, anything.
We searched you online, and maybe you can explain this?
Can't believe that garbage is still coming in. That is so false.
Frustrated with your online search results? Call Reputation Defender today to join tens of thousands who've improved their online reputation. Get your free reputation report card at reputationdefender.com or call 1-877-866-8555.
I'm seeing this bra all over my Instagram feed. I'm sure you're seeing it too.
This is the most comfortable bra I've ever put on in my life. I love it because, one, it's not underwire. I hate underwire. It smooths out your back. It doesn't give you back fat or back rolls. You can wear this under a t-shirt and it wouldn't leave any marks or bulges. So not only is it super supportive, lifting and smoothing, but you have all that without an underwire and without a ton of padding. If you're looking at this and it's available, I promise you won't regret it.
Try risk-free with our 30-day fit guarantee at honeylove.com.
There's still those who deny climate is in crisis. My MAGA Republican friends don't seem to think it's in crisis.
And these are all Biden tribes. This is done as election interference. Fortunately, the poll numbers are very good.
Donald Trump sees the world through country clubs of Mar-a-Lago, while President Biden sees it from the kitchen table. Donald Trump is only in this campaign for himself.
The Democrats, the Biden Justice Department, are more than happy to abuse the justice system to try to destroy their opposition.
Well, campaigning is going to have a different look this election season. Right now, the former president is in trial. The trial started today, and obviously he'll be campaigning from whenever he gets on camera in New York. The president is bouncing around. If you look at the Real Clear Politics average polls, the recent polls, there is a slight lead, obviously, within the margin of error here. It's an average of polls, so it's not really a margin per se. That's where you see the race pretty much tied. Washington Post writes, the next president may be chosen by indifference. For all the buildup of presidential politics and the years-long conversation centered on the determination of the most powerful person in politics, that conversation has been awfully repetitive recently. Americans are not enthusiastic about engaging in it once again. NBC kind of matches that. Election interest is low heading into Biden-Trump rematch now at 64% compared to other years. Let's bring in our panel. Ben Domenech, editor-at-large for The Spectator, host of the Ben Domenech podcast on Fox News Radio, former Republican National Committee Communications Director Douglas Hyde, and Axios political reporter Steffi Hyde. Steffi, it's interesting to see the courtroom, and whenever the former president comes out, he is essentially campaigning every time he talks to reporters in one way or another.
He certainly is. I mean, we know that Trump and his campaign are going to make the most of the fact that he is required to be in court for much of these proceedings, and he's not afraid of embracing the moment. We saw him, speak directly to the camera recently, as during the jury selection process last week. this is moving forward despite the fact that Trump's defense has been trying to delay the start of these proceedings. It's starting anyways, and Trump is deciding to go ahead and campaign there. And of course, he has made the fact that he is the target of the justice system a key part of his narrative, a key part of his bid to the American people. So we're going to continue to see him make that focus.
Doug asked if he can get a fair trial. 50% of voters think he's being held to the same legal standard as everyone else. Obviously, he's in a courtroom in Manhattan. If you look at the courtroom calendar, this is like planes coming into Dulles. You've got all kinds of different things stacked up one after another, and it's going to be just a very unique election year.
Yeah, obviously we had a unique election year in 2020 when people had to campaign in a different manner. This is wholly different. Donald Trump is not going to be as active on the campaign trail as we typically define it, but we're going to see him every day that he's in trial in the microphones, and then on weekends he's going to be a weekend warrior. He's supposed to be in North Carolina this weekend. He's going to reschedule that. It's canceled for some weather. We're going to see a lot of Friday, Saturday, Sunday Trump doing traditional campaign events during the week. He's going to be nowhere but New York, it seems.
What about this trial? Today, David Packer, former head of the National Enquirer and that group, testifying about basically this grab effort to get negative stories out to pay for them. It's the beginning of laying the groundwork for prosecutors using this hush money they allege to influence the 2016 election.
Look, I believe this is entirely a sideshow. I don't think that the American people care about this at all. I think that the former president would be wise to take up doodling on his legal pad and then auctioning them off after every day to the highest bidder. I don't think that this is a situation that actually relates to the American people at all, but I do think that he could actually turn some of this to his benefit when it comes to the attention paid. Meaning if you can't go out there, you can't have the kind of rallies that you normally have, that he's used to his benefit in the past, you can at least, use the fact that there are going to be all these cameras on you at the end of each court experience, to make a point, to talk about something else that's happening in the country that people actually do care about. And I think that that's something that the former president should do, and should do to the best of his abilities. We already know all of this is baked in. The way that people's opinions are going to be affected by this, there is just nothing that's going to change based on this trial.
We cover it every day, Steph, and we will, all the details of each day in court. But there are some places that are obviously covering it ad nauseum and have gone through every single detail, including 4 times that he might have fallen asleep, everything that happens inside the courtroom. Do you think that, he's going to suddenly do more events in New York? That Madison Square Garden rallies are in our future, or Brooklyn or Staten Island? I mean, is this how this campaign is going to go?
I mean, you could see that happening. Of course, Trump knows, he's very aware of the fact that the media are covering every inch of this trial. He has always been very aware of how to work the media. It's something he's very comfortable with. He's always been a showman. And we're seeing that right now, the way that he is taking advantage of the fact that all the news outlets are paying attention to this trial. And this is a historic trial. You have to put in the context of we've never seen a former president of the United States face this kind of criminal charge before. And so he's using this to his advantage, of course. And I think we're going to continue to see Trump and his campaign try to find creative ways to bring the right kind of attention to his campaign and keep the spotlight off President Biden.
The Democrats want to keep the spotlight on the issue of abortion. NBC on the issues finds immigration and inflation rank the highest by far, most important issues for voters. But Governor Gavin Newsom of California, he'd like to go back to abortion. Take a listen.
That if Donald Trump becomes president of the United States again, he will sign a national abortion ban, period. When we're focusing on him, I do worry electorally that he has a slight advantage. And so I'm a little concerned about the overindulgence. The consequential nature of a criminal trial is profound and outsized in some respect, but not more outsized than democracy, more outsized than Dobbs.
Dobbs, again, the President Biden is going to be campaigning in Florida on the issue of abortion tomorrow. But you saw that list of issues that are important, and you wonder how much importance abortion will have.
Yeah, clearly in the last cycle and in special elections that we've seen, it's been a big motivator for Democrats. But those are lower propensity elections. Fewer voters come out for those. It's easier then to, if you can raise your vote total by 5% in the district, to have a bigger outcome. But clearly this is what Joe Biden Democrats want to be talking about, because if you go through polling on every other issue, Biden is completely underwater on the issue of crime, on immigration, on prices and inflation, the economy, and so forth. It's why Democrats are going to continue to talk about it. But let's also be honest. There is no way the House of Representatives and the United States Senate is going to send any president a nationwide abortion ban in the next 2 years.
And you also had former President Trump saying it's up to the states, trying to take the issue off the table.
Of course, and one other thing is that if Gavin Newsom's saying that, he's basically saying Democrats have lost the Senate. They haven't just lost the Senate, they lost it to the point of 60 votes, in order to have that kind of thing happen. It's not going to happen. It's completely a joke, and it's not something that I think, at the end of the day, when we know voters, we know that they prioritize certain issues over and over and over again. And while abortion is definitely a motivator and a helper for the Democratic base, it is not going to be the deciding factor in 2024, no matter how much Democrats try to manifest it as such.
We will see. Up next, anti-Israel protests and the TikTok bill. Later, everybody cuts loose with one star marking a major movie anniversary.
Allergies don't have to be scary. Spray Flonase Sensimus daily for non-drowsy, long-lasting relief in a scent-free gentle mist. Flonase, all good. Also, try our allergy, headache, and nighttime pills.
Meet Norman. He's part Jack Russell and part tornado. Meet the Bissell Crosswave Hydro Steam. It's part vacuum, mop, steamer, and tornado chaser. Bissell, a new breed of clean.
I've been cooking most of my life after seeing my parents cook, so I stuck with some of the Spanish traditions, some of the Cuban dishes, and I like to cook my own food because I want to know what's in my food. Balance of Nature, it's already incorporated into my diet. I've looked at other supplements out there, and they don't have what Balance of Nature has. So I am taking the initiative to stay on Balance of Nature forever.
Get 35% off your first order as a preferred customer. Call or go to balanceofnature.com and use discount code Fox News.
Have you heard? Sling TV offers the news you love for less. Wait, you look and sound just like me. Actually, I am you. Because I'm the same news programs on Sling for less. You mean you're me, but for less money? A lot less. I'm all your favorite news programs and more on Sling, starting at just $40 a month. Everything great about me, but for less money, which makes me greater. Don't you think? It's the same news for less, starting at $40 a month. Sling.
Switch to Shopify so you can build it better, scale it faster, and sell more. Much more. Take your business to the next stage when you switch to Shopify.
Over 13 million Americans were affected by identity theft in 2022, and the threats are more than you realize. If you're a victim of identity theft, LifeLock works to fix it on your behalf, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. Enroll now.
People thinking my daughter is my sister, that never gets old. With CeraVital Advanced, I wake up refreshed.
CeraVital is an award-winning beauty supplement at Ulta. Get started today at tryceravital.com.
Most guys get serious eye bags as they get older. But most guys don't do anything about it because most guys don't really understand skincare. They think it's too expensive and they don't believe that anything actually works. But here's the thing. Most guys are wrong because there are actually a few ways to reduce your eye bags, and one of the easiest, Particle 6-in-1 face cream, actually works really well. And most guys actually can afford it. Because it's a 6-in-1 formula means you're getting 6 products packed into one. Just wash your face and then massage in Particle for 30 seconds. Before you know it, you're looking younger than, well, most guys. But forget about most guys. Just be you, but a younger version of you. You can order right now at partofmen.com. We've got free shipping in the United States, plus 30-day money-back guarantee.
Clogged gutters can cause big problems fast. Until now, call 833-LEAF-FILTER today for your free gutter inspection.
I've had terrible flooding problems on my porch.
Now I understand why.
Right now, LeafFilter is offering a free inspection on your schedule. LeafFilter is a permanent gutter solution, so you never have to worry about costly damage from clogged gutters again.
Call us today and schedule your free inspection.
To schedule your free inspection, call 833-LeafFilter today or visit leaffilter.com.
Before planning the big trip, you were limping thanks to a bad knee. Then you heard about Mako robotic-assisted knee replacement. It starts with a CT scan to pinpoint the problem that becomes a personalized 3D plan to guide your doctor during surgery. Mako can help lead to better outcomes, like less pain and shorter recovery times. The lifetime of a knee implant is limited, and revision surgery may be required. Individual results and recovery times vary. Risks of surgery include pain, infection, heart attack, stroke, death, and other serious risks. Ask your doctor for important safety information. To find a doctor who uses Mako, visit makocan.com.
Can we hear that? There they are. Okay, looking live. Columbia University, those protests continue, anti-Israel protests. We've seen all kinds of things. Pro-Hamas. We've seen 1,000. October 7th should happen over the past few days. And there has been an effort. They had to go to virtual school, according to the Columbia University president, for safety of Jewish students. This as Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez weighed in at an event today talking about Columbia, as did the president.
We once again witness the leadership of those peaceful student-led protests on campuses like Columbia, Yale, Berkeley, and many others.
I learned a long time ago, listen to that lady.
Do you condemn the anti-Semitic protests on college campuses?
I condemn the anti-Semitic protests. That's why I set up a program to deal with that. I also condemn those who don't understand what's going on with the Palestinians.
So both sides of that. Senator Fetterman came out with a tweet. He said, I fully agree with the White House. These protests are anti-Semitic, unconscionable, and dangerous. Add some tiki torches and it's Charlottesville for these Jewish students. To Columbia president, do your job or resign so Columbia can find someone who will. He's referring back to Charlottesville. And this is President Biden, then Vice President Biden, on that Charlottesville referencing former President Trump.
He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides. But those words,
air fryer,
the President of the United States assigned a moral equivalence between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it.
So, Senator Fetterman making that connection. We're back with the panel. But it is quite something. Very fine people on both sides.
Look, if I was the president of any of these institutions and I saw a student who was in the midst of this type of protest, my suggestion would be that they return to their dorm room, put everything that they have into a box, and then afterwards we would talk about what would happen to the box. This is not a situation that should be tolerable on any level. It is something that is absolutely abhorrent. It violates their honor codes. It violates their own internal rules. It violates every kind of rule of decency that we can understand, and it puts the Jewish students on these campuses at risk, and it cannot be tolerated. And the fact that this is happening at America's highest level institutions, Ivy League institutions that we have looked up to as a group, as a community for so many years, is absolutely abhorrent to me.
Robert Kraft, owner of the Patriots, came out with a statement saying, deeply saddened. I'm deeply saddened at the virulent hate that continues to grow on campus and throughout our country. I am no longer confident that Columbia can protect its students and staff, and I am not comfortable supporting the university until corrective action is taken. So it's spreading here. Steph?
Yeah, I mean, this would be, the third president of an Ivy League university to step down if this does end up reaching that point, since Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th, and we continue to see this problem on university campuses, and we continue to see how heated of an issue this is, and how much the Biden administration really struggles to navigate this heated political issue. We've seen them kind of, go back and forth, it seems. On one hand, they are, supporting Israel and then criticizing Netanyahu and criticizing Israel's attacks, and then back again trying to push back on the rise of anti-Semitism in the U.S. that we have seen in recent weeks and months.
Doug, you see the headlines here. Harvard Crimson, Harvard Yard closed until Friday in anticipation of pro-Palestine protests. Politico, UC Berkeley's campus is in turmoil. It's unlike anything in recent memory. Axios, police arrest dozens of pro-Palestine protesters at Yale. It's a number of campuses, not just Columbia.
No, and I'm on the board of visitors for my alma mater, North Carolina, at Chapel Hill, and we had an ugly day after October 7th. We had a lack of leadership that didn't respond to it, fortunately for UNC, and this is what all of this comes down to. UNC has a new interim chancellor, Lee Roberts, who's showing real leadership. All of these schools where there's a lack of leadership, listening to all voices and making it very clear of what's acceptable and what is absolutely unacceptable only feeds this. And just real quickly, Congresswoman AOC said that these are student-led protests. If you look closely, all of the tents are identical. Same shape, same colors. There's money funding this. These are not student-led.
But we don't know where that money is. I mean, we haven't found that thread. We're looking, but where that money's coming from.
It's the BDS, the boycott, divest, and sanction movement that targets Israel, not just on college campuses, but in public libraries and every organization that you can think of. These are organized protests.
All right, panel. Thanks so much. And finally tonight, a special day.
40 years, I mean, that just blows my mind. Things look a little different around here. I'd say the thing that looks the most different is me.
Man, 40 years. Actor Kevin Bacon returns to the Utah high school where the iconic movie Footloose was filmed. 2024 marks the 40th anniversary of the movie's release. Payson High School, scheduled to be torn down next spring, was hosting what's likely to be its final prom. Bacon agreed to return when students said they would put together 5,000 care packages for his charity, 6 Degrees. Congratulations. Tomorrow's special report, the Hunter Biden legal team takes a page out of former President Trump's playbook. We'll obviously cover the trial in New York as well. If you can't catch us live, set your DVR, 6 p.m. in the East, 3 p.m. in the West. Thanks for inviting us to go home tonight. That's it for this special report. Fair, balanced, and still unafraid. Here's
Good evening, everyone. I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from Washington tonight. The Great Deflection. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, the globalists insisted that if the House didn't relent and push for the $60 billion for that losing war effort in Ukraine, well, America would lose credibility because Putin would march straight through to Berlin and then China would be emboldened to move on Taiwan. Weakness is what the world would see. But now that Speaker Mike Johnson has made Zelensky, Raytheon, and Northrop Grumman very happy by getting that money for Ukraine, we all have our respect back as a country, right? Of course not. If you care about the way America is perceived around the world, you should be enraged that Donald Trump is on trial in New York. These are the types of election year shenanigans that happen in other countries, in third world autocracies, not in the United States. Come on. But his press minions are ecstatic. Anything to avoid covering the border, or gas prices, or food prices.
From where I was sitting, he seemed basically inert. He kind of slumped his shoulders. It was kind of, I'm a slump-shouldered person. He was kind of slump-shouldered like this when he came in, and while he was sitting there, he was kind of leaning heavily on the desk. There were times when he leaned from one side to the other. He seems thinner than I have seen him in the past. He seems considerably older, and he seems annoyed, resigned, maybe angry. He seems like a man who's miserable to be here. I'm no body language expert. He seems old and tired and mad.
Whatever you need,
well, look,
however you need it, we're at your door.
If that's the new barometer, well, what's Biden's excuse? Because if Trump is mad, he has a right to be. And so do all of you. An impartial observer knows that the New York media is doing everything it can to influence the jury. On the eve of the trial, the illustrious New York Slimes published a piece titled, "Will a Mountain of Evidence Be Enough to Convict Trump?" In the official record, the case is known as the people of the state of New York versus Donald Trump. And for now, the people have the stronger hand. They have insider witnesses, a favorable jury pool, and a lurid set of facts about a presidential candidate, a payoff, and a porn star. Now, every juror should have been asked. I don't think they were. Maybe they were. I don't think they were. If he or she read or even skimmed or even saw that headline, read that article. And by the way, the New York Times doesn't even pretend to be objective. You have to read to the end to read the pivotal point about how their star witness, Michael Cohen, has his own credibility issues to overcome. Of course, he's a convicted felon and admitted liar. But at least he has non-lawyers on TV trying to lend a hand.
Sometimes you have, and you've all talked about having a witness that you have to rehabilitate when they get on the stand. I think it's also true that Michael Cohen, along with the documents, but just his personality, he may actually be a very good witness, especially with these jurors. I mean, wait and see, but he communicates well.
He communicates. Low bar. The man's a jughead, and even if former celebrity reporters can't see it, he's a jughead. Now, as we've demonstrated previously, Bragg's case is the epitome in election meddling. The underlying payments, if anything, are misdemeanors, and the statute of limitations has already run on them. Yet this is all secondary to the regime media. Whereas real reporters love covering real campaigns, these people love avoiding them.
This is just the first of potentially 4 criminal trials that Trump could face this year going into this presidential election. He still needs to talk to voters.
Joe Biden is doing the opposite of a Rose Garden strategy. He's out there on the campaign trail.
Okay. All right. I forgot about all those packed out Biden rallies and, the convenience store stops. Yeah. Those convenience store stops are buzzing with enthusiasm. The only one excited was the cameraman there. I don't even think that person was too excited. Now, almost everything you're going to hear about this trial, almost everything, is pure propaganda at this point. It's meant to demoralize Trump supporters, but what it really does is expose the media.
He sits behind the defense table in that courtroom. His political team has been scrambling, trying to figure out how to improvise his campaign schedule. They get one day a week. It's a Wednesday in the middle of the week. There's only so much you can do with the limited time that they have.
Only so much you can do with the limited time they have. Again, a real journalist would be concerned that the voters are getting a distorted picture with Trump sidelined by a state prosecutor of the opposite party. A real journalist would see that if this practice becomes the norm, we'll never have a real election again. Just a series of bogus indictments by state AGs or city DAs designed to skew the campaign. But look, these phony journalists aren't thinking about the ramifications of any of this. They're just relishing the moment and acting as the unofficial comms team of the Biden campaign.
It seems as though Biden is closing the gap that Donald Trump had. They were supposed to have a campaign rally in North Carolina. Now, with nothing on the schedule, there is nothing for about over a week. The reality now sinking in that it can't just be Wednesdays and Saturdays in this kind of campaign.
Well, that's the whole point, isn't it? Just as Biden needed COVID as the excuse to keep him in the basement, he now needs Trump stuck in court and off the trail if he's ever going to have a prayer of re-election and a bunch of drop boxes. Now, will this work? Well, not if Trump plays his cards right. Most Americans, I think, already have their own view of this trial. And there's no point in his relitigating it every day outside of the courtroom. So I'd say instead of talking about the trial, pivot to the news of the day and then put Biden on trial. Reiterate that Americans deserve a real campaign, a real agenda for prosperity, a real border, and I think that he, the candidate, will deliver all of it. Come voting time, voters should reject what's a grand effort at deflection. And remember that it's Biden's record that's on trial. And he should be convicted on multiple counts of aggravated assault, causing grievous injury to the America we knew and still love. And that's the angle. Joining me now is Jonathan Turley, George Washington University law professor, Fox News contributor. Jonathan, let's start with the first witness called today, David Pecker, former chair and CEO of American Media, Inc. Why is he important to them, and what does it tell you about Bragg's case?
Well, it was a rather bizarre start, right? Because he's talking about something that's really not part of the indictment. It's like having a bank robbery case and they're starting out with a tax evasion witness. I mean, if I was one of the jurors, I'd be a little bit confused. Is this somehow part of this odd conspiracy, defrauding effort by the president? And the answer is no. They got the judge to agree to bring this in to show a pattern, but it frankly has very little to do with the key linchpins they're going to have to establish. You know, does the evidence show that Trump had the intent to somehow commit fraud? And part of that is still this search for what crime Trump was trying to conceal. Because even after the first day of this trial, not just on this network, people are debating what that crime is. Because the suggestion is that he did all of this because he committed a federal election law crime. But the Department of Justice rejected that. They didn't prosecute, did not charge, and many experts in the field say, no, this isn't a federal crime. So if you get even below the surface by 1 millimeter, you're left with a really confusing case.
Well, Judge Marchand allowed DA Alvin Bragg to bring up in cross-examination, if Trump testifies, some of the old Trump behavior. You know, the Letitia James, the Jean Carroll case. First of all, what did you think of that ruling? To me, that seemed unbelievably political, in my view. But is that trying to scare Trump away from, you know, exercising his constitutional right to testify in his own defense, even if you think that's the wrong thing to do? It seems strange.
Yeah, I thought it was surprising in the broad scope, because he could have allowed that to come in if it became relevant for impeachment, if Trump tripped a wire by saying something that was relevant to those cases. But he went very broad. And as a result, I think most criminal defense attorneys would say, don't take the stand. You know, I'm not one of the attorneys, I'm a criminal defense attorney, but I'm not one of the defense attorneys that just sort of reflectively always says, you know, let's not take the stand. Yeah, let's be conservative and risk averse. I actually think that in celebrity cases, you sometimes really need to take the stand. But after that ruling, no, I think I would advise him not to do it. The risks are too high. This is a very weak case. And, you know, going on the stand really gives the district attorney a chance to try to revive it.
Now, President Trump he frequently will go out outside the courtroom and then comment about what happened inside the courtroom. Now, we used to have some clients that like to do that as well, and as lawyers, we were, no, let us handle it. We're litigating the case. You're not going to win it outside. In this case, look, he's his own man. He's going to make his own decisions. But on that particular score, what would you suggest if you had to suggest to a client, even a celebrity client? Does that make sense, or could you give some ammo to the other side unwittingly by doing so?
I think it's a mistake because, you know, they say football games are won by inches. You can give up many yards with one just ill-considered statement. That stuff can be admissible. And I think that you have to be much more careful from this point on in what you say. You can talk about a lot of things, but you've got to be careful because you're in the middle of a minefield and you don't want to misstep.
Jonathan, and just dovetailing back to that New York Times piece, the mountain of evidence against former President Trump. I mean, I don't know if the jurors were asked about this, but that basically laid out the entire prosecution's case, arguing essentially for the prosecution. And again, it raises this question, how do you get an impartial jury? It's like jury tampering by the New York Times.
Well, first of all, you need a true snail-eye view to see this as a mountain, because I don't see it. What I see is a bunch of unconnected facts that aren't ultimately linked to a felony crime. In fact, they're linked to a dead misdemeanor. But look, we know that this is going to happen. That you see this already, even though there's been some liberal legal experts have criticized this case and said, we don't see the crime either. We certainly have never seen a case like this one. The media is expected to become this echo chamber for the district attorney. And even if you tell jurors to avoid the news, there's no real guarantee that they're going to do that. And they're going to be in a city that's absolutely saturated with it. So the defense has to go in and assume that all of those fail-safes have failed and that you're going to have to make that case even stronger in the courtroom.
Jonathan, always wonderful to see you. Thank you. All right, a judge just slapped down a New York AG Letitia James's latest attempt to topple Trump. Plus, what's happening this week that could change the course of Trump's trials? We examine it next.
The people you know, the voices you trust. All new Fox Nation exclusives available now.
Silicon Valley is now at the heart of some of today's sharpest political debates.
There's a deep concern data will be misused. Tech companies acting as censors. They moderate what they want to.
The FBI had pre-bunked our story, had told the social media giants what to expect.
Without free speech, there's no hope for civilization.
The unauthorized history of Silicon Valley, streaming now exclusively on Fox Nation.
On a $100,000 margin loan, Interactive Brokers charges just 6.83%. Do you know how much your broker charges? Fidelity and Schwab charge over 1.5 times as much. E-Trade and TD Ameritrade are even higher. Move your account to Interactive Brokers and save at least $5,200. Or much more if you're trading big bucks.
Are you embarrassed by ugly, infected toes? Chances are you're suffering with toe fungus. Hiding it won't help, but Fungi Cure can. Fungi Cure is the strongest medicine you can get without a prescription. Fungi Cure eliminates 6 types of fungus to help your toes get back to normal in as little as 4 weeks. So cure the fungus and start feeling good about your toes again. Clinically proven to cure and prevent fungal infections. Get Fungi Cure now in the foot care aisle.
When I started MyPillow, it was just a problem solution, one product company. Well, since then, with the help of my dedicated employees, we now have hundreds of products, some you might not even know about. To get the word out, we're having a $25 extravaganza. 2-pack multi-use MyPillows, $25. MyPillow sandals, $25. And for the first time ever, our 6-pack towel sets, you guessed it, just $25. Our brand new 4-pack dish towels, $25. And I've never done this before. Premium MyPillows with all new Giza fabric, any size, any loft level, even king size for only $25. And there's so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code for our $25 extravaganza. Order $75 and over. Your entire order ships absolutely free.
I don't expect to look 38 at 58, but I do want to feel great, and I want to look great.
CeraVital is an award-winning beauty supplement at Ulta. Get started today at tryceravital.com.
Ego, the #1 rated brand in cordless outdoor power, brings you the Ego Power Plus string trimmer with power load technology. Feed the line, push the button, and get back to work. Ego, exclusively at Lowe's, Ace, and Ego authorized dealers.
The Trump trial begins.
This entire trial is nothing but a sham.
As both sides make their opening statements, Sean breaks down what you need to know tonight on Hannity.
We planned well for retirement, but I wish we had more cash.
Do you think those two have any idea
that they can sell their life insurance policy for cash, so they're basically sitting on a gold mine? I don't think they have a clue.
That's crazy.
Well, not everyone knows Coventry has helped thousands of people sell their policies for cash, even term policies.
I can't believe they're just sitting up there.
Sitting on all this cash.
If you own a life insurance policy of $100,000 or more, you can sell all or part of it to Coventry, even a term policy, for cash or a combination of cash and coverage with no future premiums.
Someone needs to tell them that they're sitting on a gold mine and you have no idea. Hey guys, you're sitting on a gold mine.
Do you hear that?
I don't hear anything anymore.
Find out if you're sitting on a gold mine. Call Coventry Direct today at 800-798-6200 or visit CoventryDirect.com.
This bakery needs new equipment fast to keep up with demand. So they're going to OnDeck, the online lender that makes it easy to choose your loan and if approved, get funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
Force Factor Total Beets is the #1 beets brand in America. That's why friends and family recommend Total Beets. Now you can find Total Beets blood pressure chews at Walmart, so you can boost nitric oxide, support blood pressure, and improve heart health. Rush to Walmart and find Total Beets.
While this bogus hush money trial gets underway in Manhattan, Letitia James is still on her crusade against Trump. She's been trying mightily, as you might recall, to have his $175 million bond invalidated, but today, a New York judge ruled against her.
Just a few blocks away, as you know, they had a trial on the $175 million. That's Letitia James. It's all coming out of the White House, by the way. They say I overestimated. If you look at the numbers, they're underestimated. They valued $1 billion asset at $18 million. But the deal was approved. She just tried to embarrass everybody, and she tried to embarrass a very good bonding company by saying they weren't creditworthy.
And then regarding that classified documents case, by Wednesday of this week, the grand jury testimony transcript of former Trump aide Walt Nauta is set to be released. And then Thursday is the big one. The Supreme Court will hear arguments on Trump's presidential immunity claim. Joining me now, Utah Senator Mike Lee, former Alito clerk. Also with me, Mike Davis, Article 3 Project founder, former Gorsuch clerk. Senator, let's start with you. The Supreme Court case, a lot has been said about this, but do you think it would be likely that a majority of this court would say that President Trump or presidential immunity applies to these cases?
Yeah, I certainly think it should be likely, and I think it will be likely. And the reason is this. There can be no dispute, no matter how loudly Liz Cheney and her acolytes in the Democratic Party want to shout, no matter how much they're inclined to gossiping around the water cooler about what legal theories they can come up with next. President Donald Trump was, in fact, President of the United States on January 6th. And you have to respect that fact in court, lest every president moving forward is going to be hobbled by a short awareness of the fact that anything he or she may do could wind up bringing that president into court once that president is no longer in office. We don't want that as a country. And I think the Supreme Court understands that that's not workable, nor is it justifiable under the court's immunity jurisprudence.
Well, speaking of Cheney, she wrote this op-ed in the Times today arguing that the Supreme Court should act quickly. Of course, she gets it published in the New York Times. The justices should also recognize the profoundly negative impact they may have if the court does not resolve these issues quickly and decisively. Mike, now she's an unofficial litigant petitioner before the court.
I would say to Liz Cheney and these
Mike Davis.
I would say to Liz Cheney and these other washed up Republican politicians, this is so much bigger than Donald Trump. This is about the presidency. If you can indict a president of the United States for his official acts, not his personal acts, his official acts, we are going to destroy the presidency and therefore destroy our country. Think about this. Can the Trump 47 Justice Department charge President Obama for capital murder for his extrajudicial drone strike of 2 American citizens, including a minor? Can the Trump 47 Justice Department charge President Biden for his illegal mass parole of illegal migrants into our country and the resulting crimes? Do the Democrats really want to go down this path?
Well, Senator, I think of people like Chief Justice Roberts, who's he's kind of an institutionalist. He likes to, stand for the executive branch, and I think others on the court do as well. Again, this could be put an end to all of these cases, but I'm concerned that there also might be, through the court, running this fear of their own credibility being put at issue if indeed they short circuit the Democrats' attempt to short circuit the election.
Yeah, let's take Chief Justice Roberts, as your question was directed to him principally. First and foremost, you're right, Laura, he's an institutionalist, and he wants to make sure that the Constitution is solidified in a way that allows for each of these institutions, each of these three branches, to continue operating as coordinate branches within our federal government. That is unworkable if the living, breathing embodiment of the entire executive branch of government has to live each moment of a four-year presidency under the brooding threat of eventual litigation and criminal charges over official acts taken by that. Is going to see that. And yes, there are political cross-currents here, but legally, this should be a no-brainer for at least a majority, if not a unanimous court.
Mike and Senator Lee, thank you both. All right, mob behavior taking over college campus. A Jewish Yale student stabbed in the eye with a Palestinian flag speaks out next.